Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is said to take Kylo Ren down a far darker path than ever before by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one great thing about Episode 9 is that we do know that J.J. Abrams is going to make Kylo Ren a whole lot more evil than Darth Vader ever was, at least in the first and second act of the film, before the new villain comes into play that's going to make Kylo Ren feel a whole lot more vulnerable than ever before. And what's great about this movie is that we do know that Kylo Ren is going to be a far different character than what we already see him as in both The Force Awakens and in The Last Jedi. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the set leaks, this is where things begin to get very exciting and intriguing for this movie. Now, specifically, it's described that one of the scenes that were shot during the month of January included both Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley on set over in Cardington, where it's described to be a very emotional scene for the characters as well as the audience. It said that Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley were placed on a set that involved a cliff with an ocean of sorts in the background, where Adam Driver was described to be lying down on the ground with Daisy Ridley by his side. It said that Daisy had to act in a way where she was shedding tears as she was holding Adam Driver. It's described that Adam appeared to have a deep wound in his abdominal area and was described to be a lightsaber wound. The scene took around 4 days to film with many rehearsals beforehand, as well as over 10 takes to get it right. Another part of the sequence that was shot included Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker in front of a green screen, where both of his hands were resting on Adam Driver's chest, where Mark Hamill eventually places one of his hands on Adam's forehead. While this was happening, Daisy Ridley got up and took a couple of steps back and was instructed to act in a way of shock and awe. It said that the sequence deals with the fate of Kylo Ren and that this sequence is described to change Star Wars lore and introduce aspects in the franchise that fans have never witnessed before in history. So I really want to go over a couple of parts about all of this and as to why it's really interesting about the character of Kylo Ren and exactly what's going to happen to this character in The Rise of Skywalker. Now, first things first, the one piece that I really do want to go over that seems like it's pointing to Kylo Ren dying and becoming, of course, a good man once again, is, of course, in the very beginning, what really intrigues me the most is how it's described that Adam Driver was lying down on the ground with Daisy Ridley by his side. So essentially, Rey is by Kylo Ren as he's lying down on the ground, and Rey is basically crying in this particular sequence where Daisy Ridley had to shed quite a number of tears in order to make the scene very emotional. Now, what's really mind-boggling to me is how Kylo Ren has what's described to be a wound in his abdominal area that's described to be a lightsaber wound. Now, this could either have been done by Rey herself, or maybe even the new villain that's most likely being portrayed by Matt Smith in this film. So it really does bring one to question, is this most likely Kylo Ren dying and coming back to life once again? We'll get to that in just a second. So this lightsaber wound in his abdominal area really does bring me, back to the prequels where, we see Qui-Gon Jinn get a very similar lightsaber wound by Darth Maul. Seems like that J.J. Abrams is going through a couple of parallels here. Now, this is where things begin to get a little interesting, is how it's described that Mark Hamill was also on set, placing his hands on Adam Driver's chest and eventually moving his hands up until Adam Driver's forehead, where he's using that same technique that Obi-Wan Kenobi did on, of course, Padme Amidala, and what Palpatine did to Anakin Skywalker on Mustafar. So this is most likely a major hint and/or indicator that somehow, some way, Kylo Ren dies and is able to be brought back to life, which is where the resurrection aspect of Episode 9 comes into play, since we do know that J.J. Abrams is bringing in the element of resurrection in this story. So this is most likely Luke Skywalker in the form of a Force ghost placing his hands on top of Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, bringing him back to life, and once he does come back to life, this is when he becomes a good man once again and returns as Ben Solo. Again, like I say, this is basically a reverse of Return of the Jedi, where the main villain becomes the good man alive and well. Now, this also could very well be Disney and Lucasfilm's way if Kylo Ren does indeed live. This could very well be Disney and Lucasfilm's way of keeping insurance here if they ever want to revert back to the Skywalker/Solo bloodline. Now, the other piece that I do want to go over is how Adam Driver was actually described to have this lightsaber wound, and we're not quite sure exactly who this came from, right? Is it the new villain? Is it Rey? Nonetheless, this is the same exact wound that Qui-Gon Jinn got in The Phantom Menace by Darth Maul. So you can already see the parallels by J.J. Abrams that he is doing in, of course, Episode 9. And that's great about JJ. We do know that he is really putting a lot of time and effort into the character of Kylo Ren in this story in order to truly make the character evolve from start to finish in The Rise of Skywalker. Again, like I say, Adam Driver, great actor. I think he does a good job at the character. It just needs more development, in my opinion. The character needs to be more intimidating and more background to be told. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon.